everybody. This is Elia from Teen Services, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make Mexican-style tissue paper flowers. Specifically, I'm going to be teaching you how to make paper marigolds. Now, marigolds are a very important flower in Mexican culture, especially in the fall, and especially around the time of Day of the Dead, also known as Dia de los Muertos. So why are marigolds so important in Mexican culture? Well, in Aztec days, the marigold used to be known as the herb of the sun. Since it's a very bright and colorful flower, it was thought to be representative of the sun's light. It's also known as the flower of the dead, or Flor de Muertos, which is why it has such a significance during the Day of the Dead celebrations. Because it's such a bright colored flower and has such a strong scent, people believed that the flowers could beckon the dead from the land of the dead and show them a path to come back into the land of the living on the Day of the Dead. So it was sort of a signal to those who people hoped would come visit them after they passed. So what will you need to make some paper marigolds? It's very, very simple. You're going to need some yellow or orange sheets of tissue paper, and I recommend at least 2 sheets of tissue paper. You can also grab a twisty tie like they have on bread, or like you can get at the grocery store where you buy fruits and vegetables, or a chenille stem, also known as a pipe cleaner. And the last thing you're going to need are scissors, but these are optional. You won't really need them, and I'm going to show you what I mean in a moment. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is grab 2 sheets of tissue paper. Marigolds are either yellow or orange, so I'm going to start with some orange. And then I'm going to fold them in half as straight as I can. It's very, very hard to keep tissue paper straight sometimes, but go ahead and line them up as well as you can and fold them in half. And give them a good crease so that they are nice and folded. And then what you're going to do is grab your scissors and you can cut this in half. Now you can, if you're brave, also tear this in half. I'm not as brave because sometimes you will tear the tissue paper a little too much and then it won't be usable. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my scissors to cut this in half along the edge so that it separates into 4 pieces of tissue paper. And this is going to give you a good size flower. Now you can do it with a full sheet of tissue paper. The bigger your sheet, the bigger your blossom will be. But you do need at least 4 layers of tissue paper to create a blossom at the very minimum. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my tissue paper and I'm going to do an accordion fold on the tissue paper. That means I'm going to take about a 1/2 inch or so of the paper and then fold it down in one direction and crease it down. Then I'm going to flip the tissue paper over and I'm going to fold it back onto itself. This is called an accordion fold, and this is what you're going to be doing the whole time. Fold it and flip it and then fold it back onto itself again, so it's folding in the opposite direction every time you flip the paper over. Again, this is called an accordion fold, and you're going to do this to the entire piece of tissue paper that you are working with. Make sure that you crease it down every time that you fold and turn, and you also want to keep it as straight and even as possible. Again, this is kind of hard to do with tissue paper because it is so thin that it tends to move around a lot, but just do your best to keep it as placed together as you can while you're folding it. It won't be absolutely perfect, of course, but it doesn't have to be, and it's actually a little bit better for these types of flowers if they're not absolutely perfect, because it will give your petals at the end a little bit more depth and a little bit more volume, which is what you want, because you want these to be big, bold, bright blossoms. So just keep on accordion folding until you have folded your entire length of tissue paper. Obviously, you can do this with any size rectangle. The bigger your rectangle, the bigger your blossom is going to be. So you can make little teeny ones or you can make great big ones. And that's all you need to do for step 1 is accordion fold. Once you have your accordion folded pieces of tissue paper, what you're going to do is take them and fold them in half with a good crease down the middle. Then you're going to grab your twisty tie or your pipe cleaner chenille stem, and you're going to tie that very, very tightly around the middle. You want to squish it down and tie it as small and as tight as you possibly can. being very careful, of course, not to rip the tissue paper because, as we know, tissue paper rips really easily. Now, if you use a chenille stem, this will work to be the flower stem. And once you have that all twisted up on there, you're going to spread out your accordion so that it looks kind of like a bow. And then you're going to grab one sheet of tissue paper at a time and pull it up. Be very, very careful with this step because this is where most of the rips will happen because the tissue paper is so thin. This is how you're going to separate each of your flower petals. You're just going to lift them straight up slowly, one at a time, and then you're going to do the other side, flip your flower over and lift it up one at a time. And you want to go ahead and puff this up as much as you can when you're doing it. And these are going to be creating your flower petals. You're going to do this over and over, kind of keeping it round in the middle because they're going to try to separate. But you want to give the flower as much roundness as you can while you're working with it by trying not to rip it as well. So you're going to keep doing that all around here. Once you've got all 4 of your flower petals or however many layers of tissue paper you did up, you're going to just kind of scrunch your little flower. And you want to get it as round as possible, like I said before, lifting and pulling each step of the way. And what you'll end up with is a big, beautiful, fluffy orange or yellow blossom that looks like a lovely flower, and you have your chenille stem working there as your flower stem, and that's all you got to do. If you'd like to know more about paper crafts and paper flowers, we recommend the following books: 100 Simple Paper Flowers by Kelsey Elam, The Fine Art of Paper Flowers by Tiffany Turner, and Piñatas and Paper Flowers, Holidays of the Americas in English and Spanish by Lila Pearl. All of these books, plus many more, are available at your nearest branch, and you can request these through curbside pickup by giving us a call or checking online to place them on hold. Also, don't forget that we are on social media, so give us a follow on Facebook by looking up Yuma County Library District, on Instagram by searching at Yuma Library, and follow our YouTube channel for more great projects and crafts such as the one you just saw.